buckle up for safety as I give you a day in the life of facilities maintenance.
If I pause what I'm doing and listen carefully, I can hear you asking the question right now. What will this become? I'm going to be building kind of a bistro table that goes along this whole length right here. It's going to be, I think these are 25 feet long. I haven't measured them yet. I got the maximum length that they would sell me, and they based the length on the size of the truck that they used to deliver. The reason I'm doing it up here is because of the size of the thing. I haven't got a level floor in the shop, and the shop isn't big enough to accommodate this, so it pretty much has to be built on site. I need some shop rags, and the shop is all out of them. Just rolling into summer break now. I'm gonna check the lost and found and see if any old t-shirts were left behind. Oh, yes. Excellent. I have a good supply of shop rags right here. Well, I've pretty much got everything set up. I've got all my tools that I'm gonna need here. I've got my generator, welder, all my steel stock here. Well, while it would be nice to be able to cut all of these pieces on the chop saw down in the shop, I'm not going to haul a 24-foot long piece back and forth between the shop and here. I just can't do that, and it won't fit in the shop anyway. And it's a lot of work to bring the chop saw up here. I think I'll just freehand everything. The nice thing about welding is that it allows you to make mistakes. As long as my cuts are close, I can clamp it at perfect 90-degree angles and correct any mistakes with my welds themselves. You just need to be close, within a degree or two. It's not like woodworking. And that's why I love this kind of fabrication. It is forgiving enough that a farmer engineer like myself can make a nice looking product. Well, insofar as creating 90-degree corners, I'm off to a good start with my long pieces being exactly the same length. So my next cuts are 2 end pieces, 18 inches apiece, and then along the length of this whole bistro table, there will be 2 dividers. It'll add a little bit of strength and just give it a little bit more character. And so those will be 18 inches as well, minus the width of my material here, so 16s. So I need to cut off 6 feet from one of these long pieces and take that down to the shop with me. Well, I'm at the point where I need my welder. I've gotten my pieces cut. I've got a perfect 90 right here. It's nice and tight. I know my side pieces are the same length. I know my end pieces, my cross pieces are the same length. And so I've got a perfect 90 there. I'll tack that into place. Then I'll move on to the next one. Create a perfect 90, tack that, and then move to the other end and do the same thing. And that's how I will start my layout. Couldn't get it to start, and so I started doing some checking. I checked the air cleaner, that was fine. I checked the oil, and it was full right to the top of the fill port, way above the high mark on the dipstick. So I took it down to the high mark on the dipstick, and it started right up. With the right clamps and jigs, I can pretty much make anything square, but I was not happy with the way these two pieces fit together. There was a little bit too much meat in the heel, if that makes sense. So I took that down to get a tighter fit before welding it together. And it was about this moment here that I realized that I'd forgot to pull my welding blanket over here with me. And what you're looking at here are one of the cross pieces. There are two of them. Well, here's the basic shape of our bistro counter. So I'm going to clean up the welds a little bit, and after cleaning them up a little bit, I will flip it on edge, because I need to figure out the profile. So the counter will sit like this. I need to figure out the profile of the basically the braces that are going to hold this to the wall or help support it in 4 points, 4 different places. Okay, so my next steps are to figure out these angle brackets, and I've taken this. This is my top side here, this is my front side. So this whole piece will essentially go up to the wall like that. So I'm going to take some tape, I'll mark off 39 inches on the wall, which will be the underside of this. And once I have that height established, then I can measure down to just below here, because this is where I want to anchor to along the wall, basically on the green part. Measure that distance, and once I've measured that distance, then I can transfer that measurement to here, and then I can use this angle here to figure out my bracing. That tape mark on the wall is 39 inches. If I drop down to below the window height, that's a 21-inch gap. I need to cut myself a piece of 1x3, and then I can lay it on this angle, and I can trace my cut angles for the brace. Well, they're pretty good. They're not perfect because they're freehand cut, and so I'm going to go down to the shop and hit the belt sander and just square up the ends so that each one fits exactly the same as the others. And as this is our summer break, I'm taking a few weeks off and the project will just have to sit for a while. See you when I get back. You'll notice I'm no longer wearing a hat. I've got the brackets welded on, and I've done some preliminary cleanup grinding around the surfaces, around the front edges, actually, to make them look a little pretty. Next step is to put our angle in. I've got this 1 1/4 by 1 1/4 angle iron here, and we're going to put that inside each section, and then we will have something with which to screw into the plywood from the underside. I will be very curious to see if it actually makes an accurate fit to the wall. While I'm trying to measure a perfect 90 for every single bracket, and I'm getting really close to within half a degree, I'm also going to have to deal with the wall behind me when it mounts, and the wall is not perfectly straight. If you were to lay a laser across there or a string across there, you'd see that there's slight bows to the wall. So it's very possible that when we actually install it on the wall, we might have to shim out a little bit on the bottoms of the brackets to create a perfect level on top. All right, there are my pieces, all 6 of them, as well as 6 shorties to go in the ends. Gonna take these down to the shop now and using the drill press, punch some holes through these. It's just a super quick way to mark where I want to drill my holes. And then in that way I'll get even spacing on each one. Love these infill button welds. Not sure if that's what you call them, but I love them. Well, I just got finished building these goofy looking stands, 39 inches tall, and with the Bistro counter sitting on top of it, that'll give me a counter height of 42. This thing right here, I have 2 of them. One's already inside. They don't look like much, but they will do exactly what I need them to do. Well, that's a pretty nice finish. And I've gone this far with it, so I think I'll hit it with some primer, and then I'll give it a quick block sand and see if there are any other high or low spots. Well, I recognize that this primer is flat, and that there are still a few imperfections. But hey, it's pretty darn good. Maybe a little bit of glazing putty in places. I haven't block sanded it yet because it's not quite dry enough. That will reveal anything. But at first glance, it's looking pretty good. And these are those crazy sawhorse things that I made. 39 inches high. This is 3 inches wide. That'll give me a top height of 42 inches, which is what I want. Well, I'm at the stage where I either paint it and then mount it, or mount it and then paint it. I think painting it after it's mounted will be easier. I'm gonna need some help. I cannot lift this onto my sawhorses, that's what I'll call them, by myself. I can do one end, I need someone else to take the other end, so I'll have to wait till tomorrow when Mark is back and the two of us can lift it into position, and then we can anchor it to the wall. Almost ready for paint. Just waiting for a couple of touch-up spots that I hit with some glazing putty to dry. I've misted the whole thing with a fine coat of primer. Doesn't need much, just needs a bit to help the paint bite.
And for our first coat, that does not look bad at all.
So this bistro table is made up of two parts, steel and wood. The wood inlays are right here. Mark just started working on these. So when these are done and I have the bistro table mounted to the wall, then they will be set in place. Not bad. I'm going to point out a couple flaws in this wall that no one would have ever noticed until I mounted this. This is level. And this is true. But look at that 1/4 inch gap between the wall and that bottom bracket that exists there. Also, no one would have ever noticed the difference between these two panels. There's a 1/4 inch gap right there. Sometimes we don't realize how crooked we are until we're put up against something straight.
All that being said, I'm really happy with how this is turning out. I've taken one of my end piece sawhorses and moved it to the middle just to eliminate that tiny bit of sag that was existing before propping it up. Well, I've got my upper anchors done and my table is perfectly level. However, as you can see, there are some slight gaps where the brackets attach to the wall due to the fact that the wall is imperfect. So I am going to make some spacers.
So I was able to make 3 in the exact profile of the foot of these brackets. That's all the material I had. The other ones are shorter, so I will use the shorter ones on the center brackets where needed, and the full-size ones on the outside brackets because they're going to be more visible.
Now the question is, do we paint it gray or green?
Well, other than a little cleanup and maybe some touch-up painting around there to paint the little shims gray or green, I think gray will be the appropriate color. My work here is finished. Mark's back there working on the wood portion that's going to sit inside here, but insofar as all the steel work and the mounting and the painting of the steel, that was on me, and I'm done. I have to say I've actually quite enjoyed this project. It was one where I had to be both skillful, careful, and creative. Building it up here in the school like this, there's no other way I could have done that. I couldn't do it down in the shop itself. And so I had limited access to all the tools that I might otherwise use. I had to run the welder off a generator, and that was fun. Running it off of propane was very cool. It actually burns super clean. And so there was no exhaust smell up here at all, which was awesome. I really couldn't be any more pleased with how all of this turned out. I hope you learned something. I certainly did. Thanks so much for watching. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please feel free to do so. I'd appreciate that. Yeah, have a great day. Say hi to Mark back there.